Today we have one of a horror mystery movie titled Prey from 2019. But before we get into today's recap, please subscribe and turn on notifications. The movie begins with Toby, a young teenage boy, chilling in his home. Toby's father then arrives and asks Toby to help him with some garage errands. Toby ignores the requests and insists that he is too busy. We can clearly see that he is simply scrolling on his smartphone. Next, we see Toby's father checking his car's engines. While he is doing so, two strangers dressed in chimpanzee costumes attack him. While he lay on the ground, they stab him and take his car. Toby feels something is wrong and decides to go outside to investigate. Toby finds his father's corpse covered in blood. Later on, Toby has been receiving therapy since his father's death. These sessions are not effective for Toby as he is constantly reminded about his father's death. To clear his mind, Toby travels to the stranded islands with a group mental trauma survivors. The purpose of the trip, however, is to give these people some alone time and allow them to recollect their thoughts and to hopefully live a better future. Kay, the team captain, assigns each person a solo island on which they must live for 3 days. The purpose of this solo adventure is to reflect upon one's own life before each individual leaves the island. Kay provides them with a sleeping bag, torch, and other items that will allow them to enjoy their time on the island. Kay takes Toby to one of the islands, and Toby soon starts preparing his camp. While Toby is preparing his camp, he can often be seen talking to himself as if he were crazy, and this seems to be more common. After a lot of struggle, Toby finally manages to make a decent tent. Then he sets out to find firewood while he is still in the bush. He finds a few coconuts lying on the ground, and decides to bring them along. But he discovers that he is being spooked by a dead monkey when he reaches down to grab them. Toby is reminded of his father by the dead animal and starts to freak out. He leaves the coconuts and returns to his tent to find that a monkey has eaten all of his food. Toby then tries to light the firewood with a knife and a piece metal. Given his short temper, Toby quickly becomes frustrated and throws the metal piece into the ocean. Toby finally uses the magnifying glass on the blade to light the fire and then eats the clamps he discovered earlier in the day. These clamps cause him to have a bad stomach, and Tommy vomits the entire night. He decides eventually to retrieve the coconuts because of his stomach problems. Toby senses someone passing behind him as he reaches for the fruit and is scared. He looks around, but no one is there. He sees someone with a mask looking at him in the distance. He is scared and runs back to camp. Toby wakes up next morning to find himself under a coconut tree. He is starving and he drinks the coconut water. Toby then notices a little girl named Madeline, who collects sea clamps in the ocean, but he doesn't know. He decides to follow a girl in the jungle, but eventually loses his sight of her. Madeline, who is carrying a knife, approaches Toby the next time he spots her. However, Madeline doesn't mean to attack him. Instead, she kills the wild pig that got stuck in her trap. Madeline then cooks the pig for the pair. Madeline finishes eating and gets up to go. Madeline warns Toby to stay close to the fire and not return to his camp. We see Toby sitting next to the fire that Madeline lit earlier in the day. He decides to go to sleep shortly thereafter, but is haunted constantly by illusions that he was stabbed. Madeline is there to relieve him when he wakes up next morning. She's brought food and she also tends Toby. Together, they spend the rest of the day. Toby learned survival skills such as hunting and crafting spirits out of wood with Madeline. They then arrive outside at an entrance to a small cave that has skulls and engravings. Madeline warns Toby not to enter the cave and threatens her mother with kill Toby if she finds out. Madeline is furious and believes Toby meant to leave without informing her.
Just gonna leave without telling me?
That's what I was trying to tell.
Kay returns to the island the next day to bring Toby home. She fails to see Toby at the shore, so she goes into the jungle to search for him. After looking for a while, she realized that there was a sudden movement in the bushes, and maybe that was Toby. Her suspicions turn out to be false, and she is suddenly knocked unconscious by a mysterious figure in the darkness. Toby, on the other hand, wakes up to see that it's getting late for him to be picked up quickly by Kay. He gets up and heads to the beach, but doesn't find anyone. After waiting several hours, he sees a lot of Kay's items floating on the shore. Realizing something's not right, he follows the trail to Kay's overturned boat. To his surprise, he notices another woman taking the supplies, but he does not reveal who he is to her. The woman vanishes. Toby hides from the woman and then goes to inspect the boat. He discovers Kay's body. He panics and nearly drowns after getting trapped inside. Toby manages to escape the boat and later entered into a cave. Scared, however, he makes his way through cave, where he finds several ancient drawings. He eventually comes out the other side. Shortly after leaving the cave, Toby spots the same woman who was cutting the goat. Toby quickly runs away and ends up at Madeline's bamboo and wood house. After searching the house for any clues, Toby finds Kay's belongings. He also found an old photo of a 3-member family under a box. He realizes that Kay was actually killed by Madeline's mom. A few moments later, he discovers a satellite phone that probably belonged to Kay. Toby was unable to communicate with the person on his other end until Madeline and her mom arrived on the scene. Madeline's mom berates her for not informing her about Toby and tells her to stay at home. Madeline continues to be lectured by her mother about being careful. Toby comes out to Madeline and asks her for her assistance. She told Toby to go to the beach and promise to come later where she will meet him. Later that day, Toby makes a wooden camp and hunts for fish. He can't sleep at night because of the haunting thoughts of Kay's body. Madeline soon arrives to meet him as promised. Toby then tells Madeline all he has discovered, including the dead body, and claims that Madeline's mother is the killer. Madeline hears something moving and opens up about her childhood to Toby. Madeline was so young when her father and mother arrived on the island to spend some quality time. Her mother, however, killed her father and all the other natives on the island. Madeline and her mother have lived there since then. After this, Madeline and the other decide to leave the island. Toby wakes up the next morning to hear a plane pass by. Toby quickly rises and asks for help. However, Toby is not seen by the pilot. He returns home disappointed. But he spots an old lighthouse near him, realizing that he could send signals from the lighthouse. Toby enters the house to check the engine, but he discovers it lacks fuel. He then remembers that Madeline had a fuel gallon and decides to go get it. On the way, he meets Cameron, who was one of the other members. Cameron revealed that Kay never returned to his island and was forced to look for another way to get off the island. Next, Cameron and Toby are seen sitting around a campfire talking about their escape. Cameron suggests they use the rowboat to get off the island next morning. But Toby insists that he doesn't want Madeline to be left alone, and sets off for her home. Instead of Madeline, he makes contact with her mother. Toby flees in fear as Madeline chases him. She is trapped in a trap Toby has set up for wild animals. Toby uses this opportunity to confront her about Kay's death. In a surprising twist of events, Madeline's mom reveals that it wasn't her who killed all those people many years ago. Madeline is actually the one who is possessed by the devil. Madeline's mother says that Madeline and her husband arrived on the island after coming in contact with the indigenous community, who used to worship a gods. They tried to stop them interfering in their ritual, but Madeline's family refused to listen. The devil took her body, and her mother tried to keep it on the island. She then gave him a herbal potion and told him to use it on Madeline. Cameron, on the other hand, has been spooked by sudden noises in the area. He gets up to verify, but Madeline is also killing him. Madeline is thrilled to see her mother was killed by Toby. She confronts him. Toby said he did it for them. Madeline begins aggressively kissing Toby. He decides to seize this opportunity and prepares to use the potion to make Madeline unconscious. But, before he can do that, the devil takes control of Madeline's body and attacks him. He manages to knock her unconscious and then goes to the lighthouse carrying the fuel tank. The next scene shows that Toby has turned on the lighthouse and is now waiting for someone else to help him. Madeline, on the other hand, regains consciousness and approaches the lighthouse to kill Toby. The devil in her body attacks Toby and nearly kills him. Madeline holds Toby down in a chokehold and he distracts her with a peace glass. A boat is now making its way towards the island, having received the signal from the lighthouse. Toby swims quickly towards the boat. But on his way, the devil-possessed Madeline kills him. Madeline is seen getting onto the boat. And that's all about the recap of Prey 2019. Thank you for watching. See you again in the next video.